Hello, ghouls and ghoulies. Welcome to Scary and Bizarre Short Stories. I'm your host, Larry Lee Roten. This is a horrid tale. Do the dead try to communicate with us? Listen to this tale, and we'll see. This story is called My Bones. The small town of Johnson was founded in 1878. In the early days, it was a beacon drawing settlers with hopes of a new beginning and opportunities. The fertile land and scenic beauty made it an ideal location for farming and small businesses. During its initial decades, Johnston thrived. As the years passed, the small town stopped growing. The reason for its stagnation remained shrouded in mystery. It appeared the small town was frozen in time. In the late 60s, Frank and Kathy embarked on a new chapter in their lives. They decided to move to the quaint town of Johnston, which seemed to offer a unique charm, almost as if it had been preserved in a bygone era. Their new home was exciting, and the small town seemed to call to them as if some unknown force wanted them there. The town's old homes were immaculate, boasting new paint, manicured lawns. To the Roberts, it was like stepping back in time. Johnson was a small town, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. Its old homes, each a testament to the craftsmanship of the past, stood proudly with fresh coats of paint. The lawns were impeccably manicured, suggesting a community that took pride in its appearance and heritage. For Frank and Kathy and their daughter Mary, moving to Johnson was like stepping into a different world, a simpler, more serene time. The new home was exciting for Mary. Her room was loaded with boxes, and she wasted no time opening her belongings. Mary was Frank and Kathy's 6-year-old daughter. Moving was always fun for her, and this move was no different. Along with a new environment came prospects for new friendships and adventures. Mary didn't know this move would cast her into the realm of the mysterious and unexplained. It was the first night in their new home when Mary was suddenly awakened. The 6-year-old girl stared into the darkness. Something was moving, but the blackness concealed its presence and made it impossible to recognize what it was. Mary's stare returned nothing but black on black images. Her heart raced as she lay still, afraid to move or make a sound. The familiar comfort of her room was gone, replaced by unfamiliar shadows and whispers. She pulled the covers up to her chin, hoping for the safety they promised. The next morning, Mary told her mother what she had seen. She also said that something had rearranged the letters she had posted on her door. Instead of reading Mary, it read M-Y, my. The letters A and R were missing. Her parents dismissed the letters as falling off the door, and her mother added, I found an orange crayon this morning on the steps. You need to be more careful with these. She handed Mary the crayon. The next night, Mary was awakened once more. This time, the entity came closer to Mary's bed. In the still of the night, a young girl's voice whispered, Help me. Mary was frightened beyond words. She ran to her parents' bedroom. She told them that something was in her room. Her parents searched, but nothing was found. As her mother returned to her room, she picked up an orange crayon and handed it to Mary. Please keep these in your room. The following day, Mary awoke to a warm summer morning. As the sun's rays lit up her room, she noticed a large letter written on her wall. It was the letter B, written with an orange crayon. Mary couldn't explain the letter to her mother and was scolded for writing on the wall. Mary didn't want to sleep in her room the next night, but her mother insisted. Mary's mother had checked the windows, under the bed, and her closet. She assured Mary it was safe, so Mary agreed to sleep in her room. To her surprise, nothing happened that night, and the next morning Mary woke once more to a beautiful sunny day. As she dressed, she noticed another letter written on her wall, the letter O. Now the letter spelled B-O. Once more Mary was scolded for writing on the wall. She tried to explain that she hadn't written the letters, but her mother didn't believe her. Kathy ended the conversation by holding up an orange crayon. "This morning I found this in the kitchen." The following night Mary was awakened once more. She watched as the darkness in her room came alive. She switched on her lamp, and there was something standing in the room. It was the ghost of a small girl. Mary was mortified, but she didn't leave her room. She mustered up enough courage to ask, "Who are you?" The little ghost tried to speak, but the only words heard were, "Help me." Mary wanted to run, but remained in her bed. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. The ghost tried to speak again, but the only words were, "Help me." "Are you the one who's been writing on my wall?" Mary asked. The little girl nodded and spoke softly, "Help me." Mary rose from her bed, grabbed her orange crayon, and went to her wall. She stared at the letters already written there. "What are you trying to say?" Mary asked. The little ghost walked toward Mary. Beside the letters B-O, she wrote the letters N-E-S. She handed Mary the crayon and said softly, "Help me." The following day, Mary told her parents what she had seen. Her mother looked at the letters on her wall. They spelt bones. She removed the letters on Mary's door, which read M-Y. She studied the letters and taped the letters M-Y beside the word bones. "Mary," she said, "it reads, my bones." As they entered the kitchen, they saw more letters written on the kitchen wall. They read, "My father killed me." The words were written with an orange crayon. "Mary, are you sure you didn't write these letters?" her mother asked. "No," replied Mary, I didn't." Mary's mother went to the local historian and questioned her about her new residence. The historian told Kathy that the local doctor lived there years ago when the town was first founded. He and his wife had a daughter, and one night the little girl was abducted. She just disappeared. The local authorities searched for months, but the little girl was never found. She had vanished. They suspected her father, but since they couldn't find a body, he was never prosecuted. Kathy asked the historian how old the girl was, and the lady told her she was 6 years old. This disturbed Kathy greatly. Later that night, Kathy told Mary about the missing small girl. She also told her that the little girl's name was Cindy. That night, the small apparition appeared once more in Mary's room. Mary spoke kindly to the little girl. "Are you Cindy?" The little girl nodded. "What do you want me to help you with?" Mary asked. "Help me," the small ghostly figure said. Mary stared at the wall. "You want me to help you find your bones?" The little girl nodded. "Okay," said Mary. "I'll help you." Cindy turned and walked toward the bedroom door. She motioned for Mary to follow. Mary followed the little ghost behind their house and into the woods. Beneath a huge stone, Cindy stopped. She pointed down to the ground. Mary nodded. I'll come back tomorrow and see what I find. The next morning, Mary, her mother, and father went into the woods. There, beside the huge stone, Frank began to dig. Several feet down, he saw something covered with an oil tarp. The old covering was bound tightly with a heavy wire. He called the sheriff's office and requested help. 2 hours later, the forensic team uncovered the remains of a child. The body had decomposed, but the bones were intact. Clutched in the small girl's hand was an orange crayon. The crayon hadn't deteriorated and, by all appearances, appeared to be relatively new. I hope you enjoyed this story. It seems odd to me. I live in an old house, and as I walked down the steps last night, I found an orange crayon. I had just recorded this story. I wonder if something or someone was trying to tell me something. Well, I'm too old to color, so I guess tomorrow I'll be looking for bones. Or maybe not. Thank you for visiting Scary and Bizarre Short Stories. If you would, please subscribe and give this story a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. As always, thank you for visiting my channel.